Imagine a man nearly 4,000 years ago standing in a bustling marketplace. He's gripping a small clay tablet. Carved into it are symbols that spell out a simple, terrifying truth. He owes barley to the temple. The harvest failed. The interest is growing, and if he can't repay, his son may be taken as labor. Debt didn't begin as numbers on a screen or a notification on your phone. It began as a promise. I give you something now, you repay me later. Simple, reasonable. But over time, that promise transformed into something far more powerful. In ancient Mesopotamia, farmers borrowed seeds from temples and palaces. When crops failed, interest mounted. Families lost their land, and some lost their freedom. Debt became leverage. And here's the twist. Rulers discovered that too much debt threatened their own survival. When too many citizens fell into bondage, economies collapsed and unrest grew. So kings occasionally wiped debts clean in dramatic resets known as jubilees. Not purely out of kindness, but to preserve their own power. Welcome to Behind the Money. We're here to decode the financial world, revealing the stories, the systems, and the power plays that define our modern era. If you've ever wondered about the real story behind wealth and influence, you're in the right place. Subscribe now, and let's uncover these secrets together. You'll never look at money the same way again. Now, travel to ancient Rome. Soldiers returned from war to find their farms ruined. They borrowed to survive. If they failed to repay, creditors could literally chain them in public. Rome, a republic built on the idea of liberty, nearly tore itself apart over debt disputes. Financial obligation wasn't just personal, it was political. As trade expanded through the Middle Ages, kings borrowed to fund their wars. And when monarchs defaulted, powerful lenders gained influence over the crown. For the first time, money could pressure royalty. The balance of power subtly shifted. Credit became political currency. Then came the age of exploration. Empires crossed oceans, financed by investors seeking massive profits. Colonies weren't just territories. They were revenue streams meant to repay those loans. Expansion was powered not just by ambition, but by obligation. Debt helped build empires, and it helped justify exploitation. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Debt doesn't need chains to control people. It just needs dependency. When your survival hinges on repayment, your choice is narrow. With the rise of modern banking, governments discovered a new superpower. They could borrow from their own citizens. Bonds allowed nations to fund wars, infrastructure, and crises without immediate taxation. National debt was born. At first, it seemed brilliant. Borrow to build, borrow to grow. But this created a new force that governments had to answer to creditors. If investors lost confidence, economies shook. Political leaders began balancing not only public opinion, but market reactions. Debt became a silent actor in global politics. The Industrial Revolution brought credit to everyday life. Workers bought goods on installment plans, but their wages barely covered the payments. In theory, they were free. In practice, many were perpetually indebted. After the American Civil War, sharecropping agreements trapped formerly enslaved people in cycles of borrowing for seeds and tools. High interest and manipulated accounts ensured many could never fully repay. Legal bondage had ended, but economic control remained. Then the 20th century flipped the script again. Debt stopped feeling shameful. It became aspirational. Governments encouraged citizens to buy war bonds. Consumer credit exploded. Refrigerators, cars, and homes became accessible through monthly payments. The credit card made borrowing effortless. Swipe now, pay later. Debt wasn't just a last resort, it was a lifestyle. Entire economies began to depend on it. Mortgage built suburbs. Student loans expanded universities. Businesses leveraged loans to grow rapidly. Credit fueled prosperity, but also fragility. Because debt scales. When one farmer defaulted in ancient times, the damage was local. When millions default in a globalized financial system, the damage is worldwide. In 2008, That fragility was exposed. Risky mortgage had been bundled and sold across the globe. When homeowners began to default, banks collapsed. Markets panicked. Governments stepped in, turning private losses into public debt. The crisis revealed something startling. In a world built on credit, everyone is connected. Yet modern debt rarely feels dramatic. It operates quietly. A graduate with student loans might choose a stable job over their passion. An entrepreneur might hesitate to take risks. A nation receiving international loans may be required to cut public spending or change its policies. Debt shapes our decisions subtly but persistently, and technology has made it even more invisible. Algorithms now assign credit scores in seconds. A single missed payment can follow someone for years. Control no longer looks like change in a marketplace. It looks like numbers in a database. But here's the paradox. Debt is not inherently evil. Without it, innovation would stall. Infrastructure would crumble. Businesses would struggle to expand. Credit enables growth. It creates opportunity. The real issue is power: who sets the terms, who bears the risk, and who benefits. Throughout history, those who control lending control possibilities. They determine interest rates, access, and penalties. Inclusion can empower. Exclusion can marginalize. And scale changes everything. There's an old saying, if you owe the bank $1,000, you have a problem. If you owe the bank $1 billion, the bank has a problem. In a world of trillion-dollar national debts and highly leveraged corporations, the lines of control blur. Who truly holds power when everyone owes someone else? At its core, debt runs on trust. Trust that repayment will happen. Trust that currency holds value. Trust that institutions will endure. When that trust collapses, so does the entire system. From clay tablets in ancient marketplaces to digital ledgers humming in data centers, debt has always been more than just money owed. It is a relationship, one that shapes behavior, incentives, and power. It has built empires, and it has toppled them. It has liberated people with opportunity and constrained them with obligation. The farmer holding that clay tablet thousands of years ago felt the same weight many of us feel today, the burden of tomorrow as promise. Debt became a tool of control, not overnight, but gradually woven into our laws, our economies, and our culture until it felt normal, invisible, inevitable. And perhaps that is its greatest strength. Because every loan signed, every bond issued, every swipe of a card is an act of faith in the future. The question history keeps asking is simple. Are we using debt to build our world, or is debt quietly shaping it for us? Thanks for watching. If this made you think, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the hidden forces that shape our world.